Storybook Brawl was nice enough to send me some dust codes, so I'm doing another giveaway. Stick around to the end of the video to find out how you can enter to win. What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven, and today we are going to be taking a look at a game where we use a singing sword and call out a bunch of good boys with Pied Piper. Definitely a little bit of a good boy week. Unfortunately, we have changed the giveaway code now, but playing all of these good boy games was definitely what prompted me into playing, or into making that the code last week. And this turns very interesting, because we could just take the Genie's Wish after we pick up the Wizard's Familiar. Ultimately, I felt like that wasn't exactly where I wanted to go, and I felt like I wanted to probably pick up the Polywoggle before I pursued like the Wizard's Familiar strategies. Unfortunately, we wind up rolling a free roll from the Genie's Wish, so a little bit unfortunate, but we'll pick up a golden chicken, and that is still enough to allow us to win our second combat. And then we get to pick up a blind mouse, so that's really good for us as well. And I'm going to start by rolling the die just to see where that gets us before picking up that second blind mouse. And from there, I'm thinking it might be good to pick up another baby dragon as well and go into the next level with two pairs. Interesting shop that had two pairs in it as well, but not really going to concern myself with the Mad Mims. It can be good for Pied Piper for a few of the things that I like to do on the hero, which is summons and polywoggling. But for the time being, I think that we will just explore avenues with these mice. And we're going to get very lucky this game with a blind mouse triple on 3.0. That's going to allow us to find a tier 4 treasure. And I think it has to be Gloves of Thieving for this point in the game. Early Krampus's Sleigh is definitely not as good as a late Krampus's Sleigh, so I'll just pick up the Gloves of Thieving and then a Prized Pig, which has a little bit more power thanks to Pied Piper, and hopefully we can steal some sweet stuff to potentially steal a nice little win here as well. But feeling okay about this game currently. The main thing is that the Gloves of Thieving, even if we don't win this turn, I think the Gloves of Thieving are going to help us win future turns just by giving us that additional free econ, which should help us then with the Prized Pig and just overall. And I actually underestimated ourselves here. We're actually strong enough to get a win this turn, so we get the additional unit from the Gloves of Thieving and then the additional gold from the Prized Pig. So we're doing really good. And I think that we are also in a good place to take advantage of this Wicked Witch, and we'll even wind up getting another one. I wind up using the Shard of the Ice Queen because I figured that would be another good evil unit that we could support with the Wicked Witch, but we wind up just grabbing another Wicked Witch. So now we get to be really, really strong on 3.1. We're definitely moving a little bit more into summons, but also taking advantage of the slaying that I talked about earlier. Not with Polywoggle, but with Kitty Cutpurse, and that is just going to make us really strong here, and this should be good enough that we are walking away with that Prized Pig gold. So we're also going to steal a mummy for my opponent, and this Black Cat combat works out very well for us. My opponent does get a Polywoggle Sleigh, so good for them, but we are looking pretty good here ourselves, and looks like they already used their knighthood, and then potentially, oh no, they did have a treasure, so maybe they haven't used their knighthood yet, but that's not really our concern. We will put their mummy in that they just true loves kissed for us, and then we will pick up a pair of black cats. That'll give us a tier 2 treasure. And from here, Corrupted Heartwood seems fine with all of the Wicked Witches that we've picked up, and then I'll end the turn by picking up a golden chicken. And Water Wraith, also kind of cool with these Wicked Witches, so I could go for that. I could also just pick up Cinderella. It's a little bit awkward that we can't cast the Shard of the Ice Queen because all of our units just turned evil, though I guess we never had any good units to consider. Everything was neutral or evil even before the corrupted chest there. But I'll pick up Cindy just to both take that out of the pool and potentially grab a tier 2 treasure from it down the line. That could be okay for us. And we're continuing to do pretty strong stuff in all of these combats. 40 health Pied Piper, now onto 4.0, and it does look like we're definitely set up pretty well to take advantage of summons. I'm also going to go for a gingerbread party because that's going to be good on time flies and really just going to be good on everything that we're picking up here. We've got so much gold that I think that it's just going to be useful to do that. And I do consider the vulture, also consider the nutcracker. But I think that one of the best uses of Pied Piper's hero power when you hit level 4 is to try to find that hippocampus. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Not before picking up another black cat to just go crazy with the summons, but then we do find the hungry hippocampus. So I'll sell 2 things off to pick that up, taking the prize pig out, and then locking onto another time flies in the shop. And I think that we are quite powerful right now. Corrupted Heartwood. Giving +1 attack to all of these black cats is good, but it's also giving a whole bunch more stats to the time flies because it turns it evil, and then time flies can make use of the wicked witches there. So an 8/6 time flies, pretty good. The hippocampus going to be getting up to 9 health on the first turn that we are playing with it, and that is going to be enough to allow us to win this combat. Just barely, but a win nonetheless, so I'll take it. We steal a Wizard's Familiar from my opponent. I'm not sure how big it is, just a 10-9, not super exciting. I think I'm just going to ignore the Wizard's Familiar and instead try to focus on picking up some other animals. And we'll buy and sell the Golden Chicken because we've got the Hippocampus. We don't have to sell it right this second. We'll sell it eventually, though. And then from here, we are probably going to take Treasure Map. None of the other treasures really do that much for us, and Treasure Map can be sweet. So I did mention Singing Sword earlier on in this video. You can tell that this would be a great board to add a Singing Sword onto, and we are definitely going to be able to really take advantage of that next turn. Not to spoil too much, but that is going to be really, really sweet as long as we don't steal a black cat from this Gloves of Thieving here, but that is not going to be the case, so we are going to be pretty well off. I do think we might lose this combat. My opponent has a large doubly in the back there, and our hippocampus is not that big just yet, so yeah, it looks like we will be losing to a large doubly. We only take 4 because it's Peter Pants, so not a huge deal, and here we get to pick up a tier 6 treasure. That seems fine enough to me. And Singing Sword seems like a great tier 6 treasure, like I said, for the current board. It's going to pump up all of our summoning related things in the front row. I have not really got to play with the new Singing Sword that much, but this is a great game for it, and this is probably like the ideal Singing Sword board, especially this early in the game. It's just going to be almost impossible for any of our opponents to battle with us from this point. So looks pretty good to me, and from here we find another Golden Chicken and another Hippocampus. And I don't actually think we need the Golden Chickens, come to think of it. I think that we can just pick up the Hippocampus. Our treasures are already fine at this point in the game, so I shouldn't even lock onto this shop. I mean, it's fine. It'll give the hippocampuses both 1 health each, so it's fine. But is that really worth the gold? Probably not, all things considered. But now the plan is to just scale the heck out of these hippocampuses, and I've got a few interesting ideas for how we might be able to do that. But first things first, let's pick up a triple campus here, and Ring of Rage additionally will add a bunch of stats to this board. We don't really need the Wicked Witch at this point because we have just got so much stats from the Singing Sword, so Ring of Rage I think is a good way to kind of fill things out here. And here's where I get kind of a silly idea. River Wish Mermaid. Our hippo is big enough already that it probably isn't going to die, right? So we can actually use the River Wash Mermaid to support this triple campus and just get some additional scaling out of it in that way. And this is a really silly board. I've never used River Wish Mermaid to support a hippocampus, but I think that it could be pretty good for us. So I am excited to see. And then, like, of course, it's got enough attack because of the Ring of Rage and the Singing Sword here, and then eventually we'll be able to backline it after it gets a little bit of bonus stats from the River Wish Mermaid. So a little bit silly, but I thought that this was a fun thing to try out. We're definitely going to be changing our comp a lot in this video, which definitely makes it a lot of fun, I think. And here we kind of have an interesting puzzle because, well, we've got a Polywoggle, which is fun and really powerful when we can give it a whole bunch of extra attack by putting it in the front line. We've got a free Shadow Assassin, and we also have a shop that has a River Wish Mermaid plus Lightning Dragon, and then we also have a Cat's Call. All of these things are really powerful, but one thing that I was thinking is that a Lancelot would immediately activate on this board. So I'm going to take advantage of that, roll and pick up a Lancelot. I think that that is a pretty good use of our time, and then I'm going to go for a Turkish Delight. That is going to mean that next turn we are going to be on 6.0. And that is just really fabulous for us. I'll also pick up some piggies, and those are really good if they can overflow spawn into the front row. One thing that I do think is kind of funny about this game, I lock onto the coin, by the way, at the end of the turn, just because we can cast that and then roll to start things off next turn. So it's basically free. Lancelot is maybe going to get a Slay. We're going to have some other things attack first. We got all of these Time Flies to get through, but kind of interesting. All of our Time Flies also just got +1/+1. So some pretty cool synergies there that you don't normally think about with River Wish Mermaid and Singing Sword and summons. Kind of cool. We're going to grab a tier 5 treasure now, and Hand of Midas pops up as an option as Good Boy rolls into the shop due to Pied Piper. Well, I think we got to take this. Now, I could have tossed the Ring of Rage, and maybe that would make sense, though. If we take a look, there's only 3 opponents left in this game, so I'm thinking we probably just want to grab onto the Good Boy and when we, or keep the Ring of Rage, because keeping the Ring of Rage now potentially allows the Good Boy to slay with this Riverwash Mermaid, and then we're getting additional scaling in that capacity too. So I think that that could all be really good for us, and this shop could also be really good for us. Baby Bear looking pretty good. I'm also going to finish off this turn by casting a Burning Palm on the Good Boy. But this shop has a Baby Bear and a Bear Stain, all of which are really, really good just in general. We're kind of going into the Good Boy comp. Good Boy's actually going to slay and survive, which winds up being a little bit awkward because then Hercules is not going to get the activation this turn, though we will still win the combat. That part will be elementary for us. So yeah, another thing, keeping around the Gloves of Thieving when one of your opponents is a Peter Pants and the other one is a Potion Master. Like, we're very unlikely to find things against those two heroes that we actually want to steal anyway. So I'm going to wind up now selling off the Lancelot to pick up another Baby Bear. Things get a little bit awkward here because I don't actually have the room to play everything that I want to play if I want to keep trying to scale this Good Boy, which I feel like I can get away with. So I'm not going to play one of the Baby Bears. I'm just going to keep that in my hand and feel pretty strong about this comp ultimately. Eventually, we don't have to play the River Wish Mermaid, but it's fine because it scales the Good Boy and then also gets a pump from the Good Boy. So all of that is very good. Good Boy is going to slay, so I do... I don't regret my decision. I think that I made the right play because of that. Just getting a little bit more stats can go a long way into the late game. We're also going to grab our tier 6 treasure from Hercules, and honestly, I'm just feeling kind of strong in general. Ivory Owl to take a little bit more scaling on the Good Boy does seem like the way to go. We could take the Phoenix Feather though, and then if we cut the Hercules, then we could resummon the Good Boy. And I think this was a mistake, watching everything back. Maybe just the scaling is good, but that would be such a sweet play. And a little bit regretting that I don't take it, but honestly, I think that there's a lot that we can do with the scaling still, and that is also going to be pretty powerful for us. And when I pick up another Good Boy, that does kind of reaffirm that decision, just because now we're going to have 2 Good Boys that are both getting +2/+2 per turn, and that is going to, my opponents still have high health totals. That's the other point that I'm getting at here. So eventually, this could wind up paying out for us. And when the first Good Boy dies, that means that the second Good Boy is now more likely to slay. We will have to battle through these Time Flies still, but eventually Good Boy will be able to slay and grab some additional stats on itself. So that is really sweet, especially against the Ghost. To be able to make a play like that, I think, is pretty strong. We're up against the Pied Piper here. I think about Mix-a-Wizzle on Hercules. don't wind up going for it, but then when I say True Love's Kiss on Hercules, kind of have to go for that one there, and that gives us a Doom Breath, which we're not super set up to play. However, it's just not synergistic with the rest of our comp, but I think it's a good scam. A 39 health Doom Breath, or attack Doom Breath rather, because we've got the Singing Sword and the Ring of Rage, and then even the Owl's going to bring that up to 41. I think that's going to be good, especially up against Peter Pants, where we can see this Doom Breath is just going to get a 3-for-1 right now. So I'm really happy with all of that. There is an Evil Twin in this shop, which I think is a really interesting decision point. We could Evil Twin the Bear Stand, we could Evil Twin one of these good boys, grab a new tier 6 treasure, but I don't really want my good boys to be evil, so I am just going to pass on that. And we do get a 2-for-1 with the Doom Breath, still pretty great there. Then the Time Flies can take some stuff out. Good boys not quite going to get a slay, but will still give us a bunch of combat stats to take the win. So still a 3-player game. Peter Pants is going to play up against the Ghost. I think we've only had one loss this entire game, and it was to that Peter Pants. So pretty good game all around with all of these good boys. And I do consider the, copycat, but not when you've got Singing Sword. That's not really a copycat game. Echowood though, Echowood could be pretty good, especially maybe we do want to make use of the Bear Stain and Baby Bear in some combination. That could be pretty good. Hermes Boots also seems like it could be sweet, but I am just going to wind up rolling and trying to find some other stuff. And then when I find a second Echowood, I'm like, you know what? I am over the Doom Breath of it all at this point. I'm just going to play good boys. Calling all good boys, that is exactly what we're going to do. And just play a frontline full of these boys. And should honestly be enough. Good boys pumping good boys is generally just a lot of stats for anybody to deal with. So we're abandoning the scaling here. We're going to get probably a kill this turn and then a kill next turn, and that should end the game for us. And I think that we are just big enough with the Echowoods to try to do that. I don't know what's in the crock. It's actually a Siren, which is pretty cool because it lets my opponent steal 2 good boys, which will pump each other, but it's not going to be enough to allow my opponent to survive. So doing pretty good here. Don't want to dream off of Pied Piper. Kind of just want to find a good boy, and it helps to be Pied Piper if you want to do that. So I'm going to go for a True Love's Kiss, potentially try to get lucky. We don't get lucky there, but we do get lucky enough to find another good boy, so that's pretty sweet. And the options here are Wand of Weirding, Pandora's Box, or potentially just skipping. I don't think Ring of Rage is that strong that we want to just skip here, so I'll wind up taking the Pandora's Box, and then I'm not really sure how to finish things off, if I want to play the Pumpkin or not, but ultimately I just decided to play the Bear Stain because that's going to give both of the good boys +2/+2, and it's also going to be a unit that the good boys can pump up. Interestingly, I probably could backline the Bear Stain, and that way the Bear Stain would pump up the Time Flies. Kind of just missed it, was considering a bunch of other things at the time, but that also could have been good. Good boys are probably just going to be good enough, though. I think that's going to be enough to win here, as long as we don't get scammed on the Rotten Applewood. Okay, well, we got ourselves a game here then. This one could be really close. We're going to lose our first Echowood, and unfortunately, we actually wind up losing this combat. Again, we only take 6, so it's not a huge deal, but we get Robin Wood from our Pandora's Box. Not super excited by that one either. I'm going to wind up mix-a-whistling the Pumpkin, and I think this happened in yesterday's video too, that we get a free Bear Stain out of that, or maybe that happened, no, that was a few days ago, where a mix-a-whizzle, on the final turn, just gives an absolutely amazing unit. Then I will pick up an Echowood, and here's where I look pretty smart, because now we can use the Phoenix Feather on the good boy, and we were able to get all of that scaling from the Owls in the meantime, so nothing of value was really lost. I'm going to put the Phoenix Feather in with the Robin Wood. I'm going to put a little bit more attack on the good boy, and then I'm going to do that thing that I was just talking about, where I put the Bear Stain into the back, so that way the Bear Stain can pick up on the Time Flies. But did you miss it? I accidentally made Hippocampus my highest attack unit. And at the time I thought that the Time Flies were interrupting me. Obviously now Echowood is going to be our highest attack unit, so it's not the worst place in the world to be, but I did definitely make a little bit of an awkward play there if I wanted to re-summon the good boy and really do something sweet this comp, so or this turn. Unfortunately, we're not going to have the second Bear Stain for this turn. We could pick up another one, though I think we could potentially do better. Now that we have the Echowood, there's also a pretty nice incentive to just pick up a baby bear, backline the Hippocampus, and that is what is ultimately going to get me into this correct positioning here. So now, Good Boy will indeed be the unit that we summon off of our Phoenix Feather. That'll get doubled up because of Bear Stain, and I'll even throw in a Cat's Call just to make a whole bunch more units here. And we had a 99.82% chance to win last combat. That was with making a pretty awkward blunder. Can't imagine we're going to lose this one with the just massive good boys that we will be able to spawn, and we'll be able to see that in action here now. Interestingly, my opponent did steal some of my comp with the kidnaps. They had a kidnap with Wand of Weirding, but we're just going to have way too much stats compared to them. Our Echowood is up in the 2500s now, 6500s. It just gets absolutely massive. So that is going to be enough to win, and we even have these cats clawing out to protect our units in the backline here. And it's a close one in that we only have one unit and just barely kill my opponent, but it's not a close one in that that one unit had 7,000 health. So pretty sweet game, definitely making big use of the Singing Sword, and then also with the Pied Piper hero power, and just called out a whole bunch of good boys with both of those things. But that is going to be it for me today. Thank you guys very much for watching. Here's the details for my giveaway this week. Just leave a comment below on any of my videos that includes the word treasure. New week, new code word. Shout outs to Patrick Hill for that suggestion, and if you want to leave suggestions for future code word giveaways, feel free to leave that down below. But I also wanted to say one thing: make sure to subscribe if you want to enter into the giveaway as well, and also probably turn on some type of notification for your messages. What I'm going to do for this video and tomorrow's video is I will leave a comment that says this week's winners and the previous week's winners, and maybe I'll try to get into the habit of doing that. But 3 people still from the first week have not reached out to claim their prizes, and I want to make sure that those get to everybody. If those people never contact me, then I'll re-roll those prizes once we get to like the end of the month. But just so you guys know, just from the volume of the comments, on the first week, I gave out 5 codes, and the second week I'm not sure yet, but I'll probably give away 5 codes just the same. Basically, for every 25 comments rounded up, I'll give away a code is what I think will be a good number for it. So if you guys are commenting a whole bunch, then maybe it'll even be 6 or 7 codes in future weeks. We'll see. Yeah, that's it. And make sure that if you are winning those codes, that you follow the instructions that I send to you so that you can figure out how to claim them as well. The reason that I say to include the word, that way I can differentiate between the people just leaving a comment and those that are actually interested in the dust, to make sure that it goes to a person that will appreciate it. And there's no limit to how many times you can enter. You can go back and comment on some of my previous videos. I've been uploading daily Storybook Brawl videos for the past 7 or 8 months at this point, so I'm sure there is some sweet content that you have yet to see. And yeah, you can enter multiple times. I will do a new code next week. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that if a bunch of people enter, I will give away more codes. So that's just going to be limited by how many people are entering and how many people are commenting. Let's get this channel to over 1,000. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.